At this moment, President Trump is working aboard Air Force One to keep Israel and Iran committed to an historic ceasefire that he brokered. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. That agreement stumbled overnight when Israel and Iran accused each other of firing missiles just after Trump had said the ceasefire is in effect. This morning, on his way to NATO, the summit there in the Netherlands, that's why he's aboard Air Force One, the president said he's out of patience with both nations.
These guys got to calm down. Ridiculous. I didn't like plenty of things I saw yesterday. I didn't like the fact that Israel unloaded right after we made the deal. They didn't have to unload. And I didn't like the fact that the retaliation was very strong. They both violated it. Yeah. I don't think I'm not sure they did it intentionally. They couldn't rein people back. I don't like the fact that Israel went out this morning at all. And I'm going to see if I can stop it. So as soon as I get away from you, I'm going to see.
Well, shortly after that, the president posted this on your screen. Israel is not going to attack Iran. All planes will turn around and head home while doing a friendly plane wave to Iran. Nobody will be hurt. The ceasefire is in effect. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office confirmed he spoke with the president and that Israel would refrain from further attacks. The statement adds President Trump expressed his immense appreciation for Israel, which achieved all of its war goals. The president also expressed his confidence in the stability of the ceasefire. U.S. Ambassador to NATO Matt Whitaker will be in focus moments from now. We begin with senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy, who is in The Hague, Netherlands, where that NATO summit will be held later today. Peter.
Harris, good morning. President Trump's baseline throughout this conflict has been that Israel has no greater friend than the United States. But today he showed that you can still sometimes get four-letter word frustrated with your friends.
You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
A senior administration official tells us to expect two big things out of this short trip to The Hague. The president is going to push other NATO countries to revitalize supply chains to make sure there's never an issue making weapons. And he's going to push them to more than double defense spending from 2% GDP to 5% GDP. Many European partners are putting out the word they will try to do that. But the president's frustration with other countries paying less and then expecting the U.S. to come and bail them out in a wartime has reached a boiling point, so he might be looking for a way out of the provision that requires all NATO members to defend any NATO member that gets attacked, called Article 5.
Are you still committed to Article 5 of NATO?
Depends on your definition. There's numerous definitions of Article 5. You know that, right? I'm committed to saving lives. I'm committed to life and safety. And I'm going to give you an exact definition when I get there. I just don't want to do it on the back of an airplane.
And that could come soon because that airplane is going to land here near The Hague in about 2 hours. Harris.
Peter, thank you. Matt Whitaker, U.S. Ambassador to NATO, is in focus now. Good to see you, Ambassador. How confident is the president that he will walk into the NATO summit with a victory of a ceasefire holding between Israel and Iran?
Well, good to be with you. First of all, you know, President Trump obviously is the leader of the free world. He is setting the tone. And if you're an adversary of the United States, you want peace. If you're an ally, you want to make sure you're a strong ally. And so that's our message here at the summit tomorrow at The Hague. But, you know, President Trump is right. These sides need to stop the fighting. President Trump wants peace across all of these conflicts, and he wants prosperity across the world. And so, you know, we're in a crucial moment, but it's all because of President Trump's leadership that we have a ceasefire between Israel and Iran, you know, and hopefully he can continue to be the peacemaker and bring all the global conflicts to an end.
I'll get to some of the goals for this summit in the Netherlands in just a moment. I do want to show you something, though. Iran launched multiple missiles against an American military base in Qatar yesterday. Qatari air defenses intercepted all but one of those missiles. Thankfully, no casualties reported. The attack was in retaliation to the U.S. strike on 3 of Iran's nuclear facilities over the weekend. According to Iran, It was a strong attack, back, so on and so forth. President Trump called Iran's response weak. And one headline says the minimal response was, quote, designed as an off-ramp to conflict with the U.S., end of quote. That was in the Washington Examiner. And the president reiterated the success of Operation Midnight Hammer just this morning.
How confident are you in Iran to be completely demolished?
I think it's been completely demolished. Iran will never rebuild it. From there, absolutely not. That place is under rock. That place is demolished. The B-2 pilots did their job. They did it better than anybody could even imagine.
Ambassador, ahead of the NATO summit, what has the president or maybe even your office been hearing from these other countries who will be represented at the NATO summit today about what's happening with the ceasefire?
Well, obviously, our allies, like the United States of America and like President Trump, want peace, but we will defend our interests. You know, I think our allies are also realizing that there are certain capabilities only the United States can bring to bear, including flying B-2 bombers halfway around the world from Kansas City, dropping a dozen bunker buster 30,000-pound bombs on an adversary and getting home safely without anybody hardly knowing that we were there in the first place. And I think that is the kind of capabilities our allies want to ally with, and that's why we're going to see history be made tomorrow here at the summit in The Hague for NATO.
Yeah, and the world is watching, but here at home and also in Israel, I would imagine, and in Iran, people are praying that this is going to hold. The Iranian people kind of caught in the middle. One last quick one on that. So the focus has been so much on the ceasefire today. The president has said, well, you know, the Iranian people are the ones who would have to bring about a regime change. Is there any conversation, anything happening around that topic with the Iranian people today?
Yeah, we're waiting. You know, President Trump is clearly the one that's going to set U.S. policy on these terms. He's been very clear as to what he wants as a result of his, bombing of Iran over the weekend. And that is an end to their nuclear program and making sure that they never have a nuclear weapon. That was a very clear articulation. He then executed it flawlessly after giving the order. And I think, again, if I'm an adversary of the United States, I want peace. And if I am an ally, I want to make sure that I live up to all my commitments and be part of the umbrella of peace and prosperity the United States offers.
Yeah, I wonder how China and Russia are looking at this. Any quick thought on that?
Well, I mean, again, China and Russia should get in line with the rest of the free world, and they should want peace and prosperity as well. And so, you know, I think the security challenges they present globally are a reason that we need to all make sure that we are strong, and that strength is what will ensure the peace.
All right, let's move forth. And speaking of NATO and that Russia situation, Russia and Ukraine had wanted into NATO. We can get into that if we have time. But I want to start with what the president's objectives are. I know one is to go from GDP 2% for these nations who belong to GDP 5% of that for militaries there. Talk to me about that and whether or not that is really going to happen.
Yeah, Harris. Tomorrow, we expect that all 32 NATO allies will agree to a new path. And that path, that commitment is going to be 5% of their GDP on defense. And, you know, it is historic. It is probably one of the biggest foreign policy wins of this administration, of any administration. And then we're going to spend the time building out the capacity and the capabilities of the United States and especially our allies here in Europe so that they can take over the traditional defense of the European continent and allow the United States to address the challenges that we face globally from our adversaries. But at the same time, you know, our allies want to be part of this alliance with the United States.
Yeah.
And we at the same time need to address all of our security challenges. And so that's why we're looking for this commitment. That's why our allies are going to deliver this commitment, because it's not just about what the United States want. Ultimately, it's what they need as well. It's what their not only economies, but their societies demand. They want security, and they have to step up. For too long, Europe has been taking advantage of the American taxpayer to provide their traditional security here on the continent. And it's just that time is over. President Trump's been very clear about that. And this is the moment where they are finally going to commit to doing that. Presidents since Eisenhower have been telling Europe they need to take over their own security. And so President Trump has delivered that. But that's a familiar refrain, whether it's the nuclear program of Iran or so many other things. President Trump delivers what these promises that politicians of the past couldn't deliver.
And just real quickly, Article 5 pulls us all in together. If one NATO member is attacked, then the United States comes forth. And from what everyone has seen across the world with what our U.S. military can do, remarkably, and what our president will do, back up his word with action, do you stay in that agreement with Article 5, or does everybody learn to defend themselves? Like, what is the metric on that?
Yeah, well, Harris, everyone talks about Article 5 and the commitment that an attack on one is an attack on all. But I remind everyone immediately that it all starts with Article 3 of the agreement, which is you need to provide for collective security, but also your individual security. And so each country needs to address their unique security needs within the alliance. And then that strength within their own countries makes us all stronger. And so we have the plans in place to work together, to be interoperable, and there is a great platform here at NATO. But our European allies in Canada need to step up. For too long, they have been underspending, and now is the time, and President Trump is the one that is going to get them to finally do this.
U.S. Ambassador to NATO, Matt Whitaker, thank you very much. An important day. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Harris.
Absolutely.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.